you ever been skydiving? Or for those of you that haven't jumped, have you ever thought about skydiving? All right. Do you own any rental property? Or are you thinking about adding rental property to your portfolio? Now you may be thinking, what do those two have to do with each other? Well, I'm a skydiving videographer, and today I want to talk to you about what skydiving taught me that made me a better real estate investor. This is a picture that I took with my team. I'm a skydiving videographer, so I climb on the outside of the plane. The team gets in the door, and as they leave the plane, I jump out after them and provide the video for the judges to score them in that round. And that's me in the upper left-hand corner there, right after leaving the plane. As Steven mentioned, my name is Keith Nugent. I've been jumping for 22 years. I've been a coach, an instructor, and now I'm a videographer. I've got 3,337 jumps right now. And normally I don't know the exact number, but for the longest time I had 3,333, and I thought that was cool. I've done 4 since then. That's a little over 55 hours in free fall, almost 2.5 days. And free fall is just the time from when you leave the plane until you deploy the parachute. If you include the time under parachute, I've spent almost 1.5 weeks flying my body through the sky. I'm also a real estate investor. About the same time I started skydiving, I got into, bought my first property. I now have 34 doors in Ottawa, Illinois, which is just a small farm town. Why did I pick a small farm town? That's where Skydive Chicago is. So I want to be able to drive to the drop zone in 2 minutes. I also have 2 short-term rentals, one in Illinois and one in Florida, because I live in one in the winter when it's cold up north, and I live in one in the summer when it's hot down south, and then I rent them out in the months that I'm not there, because you got to make your assets pay for themselves. And I've also in the past year gotten into private lending with projects in Nashville, Tennessee, and just north of Salt Lake City, Utah. When I was a kid, my dad used to say that he wished he would have been a truck driver so he could go see the country, and he wished he would have bought property when he was young so he could retire when he was old. On my 21st birthday, I went to the DMV and got my CDL. I drove around the country and saw some amazing things. And a few years later, I bought my first property. I bought that property when I had just started skydiving. I had a well-paying job. I was renting an apartment. I thought it's time to grow up and be a big boy and get my own place. So I was going to get a condo in the suburbs of Chicago, up near where I had lived for a while. But then I started skydiving, and the houses down an hour and a half outside of Chicago were a lot cheaper. For the same price as that condo in the suburbs, I was able to get a 3-unit in Ottawa. So I had 2 tenants, 2 apartments upstairs, each paying me $500 a month, which covered my mortgage. And I was living for free, and I thought I was a genius. I probably would have stopped with that building, maybe gotten 1 more rental, but unfortunately in 2006, I had a skydiving accident. Don't worry, the gear all worked fine, the parachute worked fine. The only piece of equipment that didn't work right was up here. I was trying a trick that I'd done a couple 100 times before. Some variables changed that I didn't account for, and I pounded into the ground, broke a bunch of bones, and got some brain damage. When you wake up in the hospital and the doctor tells you you may never walk again, and you can't talk because you've bitten through your tongue, your first question isn't, well, what's this hospital thing gonna be like? Which you think would be like, how's my health? What's going on? Your first question is, how am I gonna support myself if I can't walk? At the time, I was a computer instructor. I would teach geeks how to be nerds. And so my entire job was walking around and talking to people, and I couldn't do those. So I started wondering, okay, how can I divorce time from money? And so I got better. I went through rehab, and I went back to work in 2008 with a lot of accommodations. At the end of 2008, actually on Christmas Eve, my boss pulled me aside and said, with all the accommodations, you're still not doing the job that you used to do, and so we have to put you on long-term disability. I don't know if any of you have ever been on long-term disability or know anybody in your family and friends, but it's terrifying for two reasons. First of all, when you've built your entire life on basing your identity on what you do, and all of a sudden the doctors tell you you can't do that anymore, it's like they're telling you that you're not a person anymore. That they're telling you that you can't contribute to society in any way, so why are you even here? Okay. The other thing is that the insurance company can tell you at any time that they don't think you're disabled anymore and cut out those payments. So the money that you're using to pay your rent, to buy your groceries, all of that can just be pulled out from underneath you at any time. So in 2009, I sat down at a restaurant and I was panicking about what I was going to do, and I got out a napkin and started doing the math. I wish I still had that napkin because I literally did back of the napkin math. Well, it might have been the front of the napkin. I can't tell the difference. But I did the math, and I was making about $100,000 a year before my accident. And I thought, I need to make near that. And so I thought, my apartments are each paying me $500 a month. So if I have 30 units, that'll generate $180,000 in revenue. Take half of that for taxes, insurance, repairs, maintenance, etc. That'll leave me with $90,000 a year after the mortgages are paid off. So I can live on that. So I set a goal in 2010 to get to 30 units by 2020. In 2019, I got to 30 units, and momentum kept me going forward to 34 in 2020. Luckily, my napkin math was way wrong in my favor. They're now generating enough revenue for me to support myself and come to fun events like this. And I still have over $1 million in mortgages. As those mortgages get paid off, as the value of the properties goes up, and as rents increase, my net worth and my income will increase every year for the rest of my life if I stop doing anything. My properties are managed by a management company. They take care of everything. So I could just disappear to the Antarctic for 30 years and I would come back a much richer man. So why jump out of a perfectly good airplane? I thought it would look cool. I thought, hey, maybe this will help me get the girl. And go to the bar like, hey, if I told you I'm a skydiver, I tell you, it actually didn't work. And I also wanted to get off, check it off my bucket list. And a friend of mine at work had just started skydiving and was getting a group together. So we were all excited. We were all going to go out and jump. And Saturday morning, I got in my car, and I'm nervous, and I'm driving out there. And I walk into the hangar, and I was the only one out of our group that showed up. That's actually very common in skydiving. Everybody's like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And then when the rubber meets the road, suddenly everybody has to wash their dog. Now, you may be saying, well, I can never skydive. I can never skydive. I'm afraid of heights. Or I don't like that feeling on a roller coaster when it drops off over the hill. Well, I'm here to tell you, you don't have to worry about those. Because as the plane is going forward, you don't just drop straight out. You carry some of that forward momentum that translates into downward momentum, and it really feels like you're just sliding down a hill. You don't get that feeling in your stomach at all. Also, we didn't grow up looking at the Earth from 2.5 miles up. Our eyes can't tell the difference between the Earth from 13,500 feet, which is where we exit the plane, and about 3,000 feet, and I deploy my parachute at 3,500 feet. So the entire time, if you're just staring at the ground, which is, as a videographer, I do that a lot, it doesn't look like the Earth is coming any closer to you. And about the same time, I already talked about this. So skydiving and real estate investing, what do they have to do with each other? I want to cover 4 things that I learned from skydiving that made me a better real estate investor. First of all, if I can jump out of a plane, I can do anything. When you get to that door, after you've gone through your instruction, and you jump out of that door, as soon as you leave the door, you are the only person responsible for saving your life. If you do nothing, and you haven't maintained your equipment, because we've got safety gear and the equipment that'll deploy the parachute if you don't. But if you haven't done that stuff, worst case scenario, in a skydiving accident, you can die. With real estate, if you buy the house and you mess everything up with that house. You may lose the house, you may go bankrupt, but you can try again. You can start over and buy another house. You can start over and find another way to invest. So if I can jump out of a plane and succeed with those dire consequences, then buying a house is no big deal. Also, you're responsible for that house. So if you open up a wall and you find that there are termites, or there's a plumbing problem, or radon, or any other problem, you have to solve it, because this is your house. You have to rent it out or sell it or do whatever you need to do with it, but it's your responsibility. But when it's your responsibility, you go, all right, well, you know what? This is a problem, but I can't just walk away. I have to solve this problem in the same way that I did with skydiving. But just because I can do something doesn't mean I should. I could close my eyes and run out of that plane and not pay any attention. And I mean, I could do that. Nobody's going to stop me. But that's not a good way to skydive. When you're first skydiving, you get to the door and you're nervous. And you're breathing heavy and you're thinking, all right, I'm going to do this. Now, I've never done this before. The instructors have told me that this is going to work. They've shown me videos. They've given me instruction, but I've never done it, so I don't know if it's going to work. And you jump out, and you've got it's literally a leap of faith that this is going to work the way they say. But after you've done it 100 times or 1,000 times, it's not as scary. Maybe you don't check the equipment as closely as you used to. Maybe you're not staring at your altimeter as much because you've done this a bunch of times. You know when to pull the parachute, right? Maybe when you're coming in for your landing, you're paying attention to how you're going to land instead of looking at the parachutes around you. Similarly, when you buy a house, that first house, you want to make sure that those tenants are paying their rent. You want to make sure that everything's fixed correctly. But after you've got 10 or 20 houses, after you've got a lot of tenants and you've been doing this for a while, maybe you don't pay as close of attention with that house. Or maybe you get a call from the tenant and you don't go take care of that problem right away because, oh, a running toilet, I'll take care of that in the morning, it's no big deal. But it turns out that that running toilet had a crack in it and floods the house. So if you, just because you can ignore a problem, just because you can get complacent, complacency can cause damage to your house and it can cause injury in skydiving. Weather can also be a problem. When you're skydiving on a beautiful day and you look around, you can see all the other parachutes, it's a nice gentle breeze, you can come in and land exactly where you want it to. But if it's hazy, maybe you won't see the other parachutes coming at you until they're too close. Or if it's windy, instead of landing in the open field where you wanted to, the wind is keeping you from getting forward drive, and now you land in a tree. And sometimes it's just not your day. I have, both with skydiving and with real estate investing, I've been working on something, maybe doing jumps, and I forgot to do my safety checks, or I forgot to turn my cameras on. Or with working on the house, I'm going along and I started to do it, oh, I forgot that tool. So I go back and get that tool, and I come back and like, oh, wait, I forgot those materials. Sometimes I just go, you know what? It's not my day. I'm going to go to the pond and go swimming, or I'm going to go back to the office and do some paperwork that isn't going to be consequential. In everything in life, you should always start doing your best and then do a little bit better next time. Now, we all want to, when we start something new, we want to be the best at it. We want to know exactly how to do it. But when you skydive, you get to that door and success in your first skydive, you jump out, you deploy the parachute, and you land, and you're able to do it again. You don't have to be stable. You don't have to land exactly where you plan to. A lot of things can go wrong, and we still market it as a success because this is your first time. But before you do that first jump, we put you through 8 hours of training. We teach you what the parachute is, how to put it on, what all the components are, how to deploy it, how to know if it's a good parachute to fly under, how to come in and land. There were 8 hours of this intense knowledge. before you do your first skydive. Succeeding with your first property is you buy a house, you rent it out, and you don't lose money in the first year. We're not expecting you to buy a house that is making you $1 million. We're not expecting you to buy a house where nothing goes wrong. Just get a base hit, and that's success. But before you buy that first house, I always tell people to analyze at least 100 deals. And what I mean by analyzing a deal, you look at properties that are available in the neighborhood that you want to buy, you run them through your spreadsheet, and analyze, okay, is this expected to be a profitable property? And then after you've analyzed those deals, you go and walk through the property, you go through with your inspectors, and then you buy that first house to get that base run. After you land from your skydive, you go in and your instructor will walk through the jump with you. Look at the video, say, this is what you did right, and here's one thing you can work on to do better next time. With your house, you review, all right, how did it go when I leased out this apartment? Or how did it go when I repaired the running water or whatever? So you start reviewing what you're doing, you start documenting what you've done. And as you document things, you start to build systems. Okay, for every time when I have a vacant apartment, this is how I'm going to market it, find a tenant, approve that tenant, sign the lease, and get them started living there. Every time I buy a house, this is what the steps I'm going to take before I get to closing. And once you've documented those systems, now you can start to delegate those systems to other people. You can get other hire people to do the work that used to take you all week to get this little thing done, and now you can get it done in a day because other people are doing different parts of it, and you don't have to do the whole thing yourself. And this allows you to scale and grow. Finally, we only have one life to live. And believe me, when I woke up in the hospital, that was at the forefront of my mind. Holy crap, what have I done with my life up to this point? And how am I going to be much more intentional with my life going forward? What are the things that I've always wanted to do that I didn't do before this accident? What are the things I wanted to say to family and friends that I didn't say before this accident? And I'm grateful that I have the chance to say those things and do those things now. So pursue your goals now. If you're thinking about, you know what, I want to buy investment property eventually, start looking at the steps that you would take to buy them now. If you've always wanted to go to Paris, start documenting the cost of the flight, where you're going to stay, start budgeting for it and saving up for it, and take that trip now. And when you get home from that trip, set an even more aggressive goal. Or once you've bought that house and you feel stable with that house, start setting your goal to buy the next house or to achieve your next goal. If we keep expanding our comfort zone, eventually we're going to be unstoppable. Find gratitude in your life every day. Every morning, I write out 3 things that I am grateful for. And at the end of the day, I write 3 things that I did that day that I'm proud of that I did. So I don't write down like, oh, I brushed my teeth as something I did that day. In fact, this morning, these are the entries. So 3 things I did last night. I sat on that panel last night. I really enjoyed helping Alan and Megan. I led the discussion group yesterday afternoon talking about real estate. Man, I was almost vibrating with excitement after talking to everybody yesterday. I love sharing knowledge. I love hearing questions. I love hearing about other people's successes. And at the bonfire last night, there was a group of us who were talking about, okay, what are you struggling with now? And we each took turns discussing what we were struggling with in our lives now, and we gave each other support. And that meant the world to me. This morning, I got up and I said, you know, it was a crisp, clean morning. The sun was shining. It was kind of chilly. So I'm grateful that I had a crisp morning. The opportunity to share my knowledge. Man, every time I come to these CampFIs and I get to talk to people and I learn stuff and I get to share stuff and then I hear weeks or months later, hey, that thing that you said to me, now I've bought a property, or now I changed this about the way I'm managing my tenants. That just, I can't describe the feeling that I get from that. And of course, I'm grateful for all the new friends that I've met in the last couple of days. And express your love to family and friends. I don't know about you, but I'm not a mind reader. I don't know what other people are thinking. And without them telling me, there's no way I would know. So Stephen doesn't know that I'm grateful for the opportunity that he gave me to speak at this thing. Brittany doesn't know how much I admire her talk yesterday and the yoga that she led yesterday. That was one of the best yoga sessions I've ever done because I just felt so good in that session. So people aren't going to know what you're grateful for or what you admire about them unless you tell them. So make sure you tell them. So what are you going to do since you can do anything? Where are you going to go? What are you going to accomplish that you had limitations and you thought, oh, I'll do that later, I'll do that eventually? What are you going to do to make sure that you live your life? Which limits are you going to push past, either in your mind or physical limitations? Maybe you need to work out more. I need to work out more. I've started working out so that I have more strength and endurance, because when my skydiving team is turning, and without boring you, that means we're on a plane, it goes up, we land, and we get on the same plane when it lands again. So we land, we have to run in, drop our gear, put on another gear, and run to the plane just as it's taxiing up. And then somebody else is packing the parachute while we're up in the air, which is awesome. But in order to run in from the field, I need to have more endurance. So I've started working out so that I would have the endurance to run in, because we do this 12 times in a day. It's not just once. So which limits are you going to push past? And how are you going to be a little bit better tomorrow? What are you going to work on that can step forward just that little bit? In the book Atomic Habits, he talks about if you get a little bit better every day. Brittany mentioned it last night. And I did the math a couple of weeks ago. And if you get 1/2 of 1% better every day, so 1/2 of 1% better means you get out the violin, you play for 10 minutes. We're not asking a lot. At the end of a year, you'll be 6 times better than you were today. 600% improvement over where you were today. Now, you may be saying, well, that'd be nice, but I can't do this every day. I've got a job, family, work, etc. Well, if you get 1/2 of 1% better half of that time, so if you miss every other day, you'll still be almost 4.5 times better in a year than you were today. Success does not demand perfect attendance. It just requires you keep showing up. And I want everybody, when we're done with this talk, text or call a loved one, a family or friend member, maybe turn to the person next to you and let them know something that you're grateful for or something that you admire about them. It may feel cheesy as you're doing it the first couple times, but think of the feeling that you get when somebody compliments or thanks you. It means the world to the person that you're saying it to. You can all succeed at anything that you set your mind to. My information is up there. Does anybody have any questions?